The government's overspend or projected overspend on dealing with asylum, and the last government's overspend, as well as the uh, detention of Pavel Durov in France, are the two things that strike me as interesting uh, this evening before going to bed. As for the asylum issue, Duval, I think, is fascinating, um, partly because of his chutzpah and partly because uh, Telegram makes it very clear that an encouragement to violence will be punished, and channels that encourage violence will be dumped. Which means, of course, any channels promoting violence, for example, with the rioters, should have been automatically cut loose from Telegram. We know that the rioters were using Telegram to communicate. And Russia is, of course, extremely anxious because Telegram is the platform favoured by the Russian military, as is also favoured by a lot of the Ukrainian forces. And reading Telegram channels is a fascinating way of getting behind the news in the conflict in Ukraine, and certainly getting to see and sort of smell what's going on in the Russian mindset in the among the troops, and particularly the conscripts. And it's not a pretty picture. As for the asylum issue, the concerns about the overspend, the concerns about the fact that there simply won't be reserves available from the Treasury coffers to make up for the shortfall because they've been promised elsewhere. Yes, the Home Office doesn't deserve to have additional money pumped in because of its indolence, because of its laziness, because of its failure to actually do the work which is expected to process over the year. And there is a solution to this overspend, to process people's applications, to get these people into the community, paying tax, find proper accommodation for them that they can pay for themselves, and ensure that they are committed to our way of life. That means, I think, among other things, setting up language learning programs that they can buy into, uh, getting grants and so on, and then paying these off in time through the tax that they pay once they are engaged in appropriate employment. And this is something that should have been actioned way back at the before Brexit. This is a backlog which was created by Theresa May's idiocy, exacerbated by Priti Patel, Suella Braverman, and James Cleverly. This attitude of willful neglect needs to be ended. And if the civil servants in the Home Office aren't capable of doing the work, they need to be replaced. The civil service, anyway, I know, has a sort of revolving door. And if people don't like the job they're doing, they can go elsewhere to another part of the civil service. Well, maybe it's time for quite a lot of people in the Home Office to decamp to another service, and do so fast. And if that means that the Home Office needs to recruit an entirely new batch of civil servants, that is as must be. But the Home Office needs to work 3 times as fast as it has been working. It needs to do the work it was committed to doing, 20 years ago, before any talk of the hostile environment. This is before Blunkett. And if it can't get back to that within the scope of one government, that must make this a priority, then I'm afraid we are we are committed to government with a millstone round its neck. And it's got very little to do with the asylum seekers themselves. It's to do with the lack of industry in one of the major ministries in this kingdom. And I don't think any government can afford to have that level of idleness in its ranks.